For our next storyteller, I'd like to introduce Neelam Prabhu Gaunkar. She is a final year PhD student in electrical engineering. She is broadly interested in sensors and the phenomena of resonance. And her story is called Of Mice and Math.
Thank you, Michael. So this is a story of how I dealt with some of my fears or I'm still learning to deal with. So growing up in a scientific environment back home, I thought a scientist's life was very exciting. They had to work with instruments and they could work with different people, talk to students, and do things on their own time. And these observations were, of course, fueled by looking at different high school experiments and also some books. So I still remember the time, maybe I was 10 years old, I was talking to my mother and telling her, I want to be a scientist. She smiled, she looked at me and she said, in that case, you need to be much, much better in math. I was horrified. I still remembered both were thinking about my last math test where I thought I had done the right thing and the professor had just docked me points. So I was 10. It was hard to know exact things and calculations were hard. As the years passed, I tried to forget about the discussion on math. I liked my science classes and I tried to stay away from the math as much as I could. I was trying to decide the next big thing after high school, and I recollect coming across a TV advertisement. Yeah, this was an ad in which a person would walk into a room and a motion detector would get triggered and the lights would go on. I was mesmerized. This seemed so cool. And I thought, okay, so something to do with lights, maybe engineering, maybe electrical engineering. I didn't know that that was not the science behind it, but I went ahead with it anyway. So I reached my undergrad, and there I was with my friends working on sensors. So we, on the way, decided to get interested in biological applications. And with that dream, I came here to Iowa State to study electrical engineering with the hope of working on biological sensors. So I met my advisor. He was great. He had a project on biological sensors. There was one small problem. The project that he had maybe involved working with mice. You heard it right, mice. And I'm okay with living creatures and nature in general, but mice and things which moved didn't really sound very appealing. So this was further, my fear of mice was further, I guess, fueled by talking to my roommates who worked in biofields, and they had to work with mice and do some procedures with them. It did not sound exciting, and I had two thoughts. One, very thankful that I was not in this biofield, and two, that how could I run away from this mice experiment? So I decided, I guess, that it was time to make a choice between at least one of these fears, right? So I had to pick either between the mice or the math. And being, a master student at that time, I thought, okay, as well focus more on the fundamentals and do the math, and let's forget about the bio aspects for now. So my apologies to the biologists out here. I'm sure your work is great and it's very important, but it was not my cup of tea, at least back then. So I began my research journey. I was working with magnetic sensors, and I guess I started where most of us must have, completely confused, making mistakes, trying to mimic what I heard, and trying to survive, I guess. And little did I know that this would be start of something bigger. I found that research was not about just the skills and techniques. It was about the people. It was about starting to learn to think, to question, to understand, and be confused. And more importantly, about learning from my mistakes and my confusions. I actually recollect an independent study which we took here with Dr. Meena. And he, I guess, inspired us to think out of our comfort zone. So he would ask us to, I guess, solve or, write about what we understand on the board. And I was doing this with one more friend, and she would put down all the equations. Yeah, I was the big picture person running away from the math. So all these equations were not what I was looking at. But I tried to learn from them. And from those experiences, I think I reached this point where I could get comfortable with this fear and face them so that I could go on to the next step. So I learned to come to terms with my self-doubt and confusions. So here I am. I'm voicing my own ideas. I'm doing my PhD, getting close to finishing. And I see that I'm somehow back to this bio application. I'm trying to see if maybe I can make magnetic resonance portable, maybe now, maybe in the future years. I'm curious to explore different options. Am I the same person who came to EE looking at a TV advertisement? Yes, but I'm much more. I'm ready to select different paths and find different avenues in this realm of research. Thank you.